Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I begin in the name of the God whose mercy is profound, whose kindness is forever. We are now proceeding towards understanding how nouns are used in Arabic sentences. Just to give you the perspective of where we are, in any language that is spoken or written, you normally have three kinds of words. You have nouns, which are ism. You have verbs, which are fi'l, and you have particles, which are huruf. Right now, we are discussing nouns, how nouns are utilized in sentences, what forms do they take, how to get an understanding of what their role is, quite apart from what the meanings are. Of course, meanings have got to do with your understanding of the vocabulary, which improves gradually as you move on to understanding the language and using it and reading it more and more. But we are right now talking about the use of nouns. Thereafter, we'll move towards verbs. And while we discuss the two, the particles will always find a role here and there for them to be understood, not quite as a distinct category of words, but as helping, aiding words. When we discuss nouns, we've started the understanding of Arab, and we have understood the fact that Arab take three forms. There are three categories, three cases. We've already discussed the case of Rafa, and what is left is Nasab and Jar. These are the cases which we have in Arabic, and we are talking about the different possibilities where Rafa, Nasab and Jar are used. The nominative case, the genitive case, and the accusative case. Accusative is Nasab and genitive is Jar. But before I move on to the next possibility, Nasab or Jar, as we've already done Rafa, let us recap the different forms these three possibilities take. Rafun, if you recall, when it's singular masculine, it's alimun. When it's double masculine, it's alimani. When it's plural masculine, it's alimuna. When it's singular feminine, it's alimatun. When it's double feminine, it's alimatani. And when it's plural feminine, it's alimatun. You come to Nasab, and it is aliman. I've already explained that there is an additional alif that is added. In the case of double, it's alimaini. In case of plural, it's alimina. In case of singular feminine, it's alimatan. In case of double feminine, it's alimataini. And in case of plural feminine, it's alimatin. And jar, it's appearance is not very different from the appearance of nasab, except in the case of the singular nouns. Aliman would become alimin, and the rest are the same. It's alimaini, it's alimina, it's alimatin from alimatan in the case of jar, alimataini, and alimatin. Now, today I would talk about one important possibility of why a noun appears in an Arabic sentence in the Arab of jar, the genitive case. Now, you might well ask, why not nasab, which is the right sequence if we move towards describing the possibilities of Arab? Well, the reason is just practical. While in case of nasab, there are a number of possibilities, more than 10. In case of jar, there are only 2 possibilities. So I think it's not a bad idea to cover the items that need to be covered, cover those items which can be done more swiftly, and then move on to the ones which are a little more in detail. So let me take up the case of jar. The nouns are used in the form of jar, the Arabi form of jar. Why does it happen? What are the reasons? As I said, the reasons in the case of jar are very few. In actual fact, there are only 2 reasons that noun appears in the Arab of jar, which is the genitive form. And one of them is what is called harf jar, which is the particle. The particle. That is, whenever a noun is preceded by a particle, the noun that follows it takes the form of jar. So the genitive case is because of 2 reasons. One of them is harf jar, and the other is mudaf, which if we write in the transliteration form, it would appear like this, because D with a dot beneath it is actually dhat. Mudaf ilay, pardon me, mudaf ilay is what takes this genitive form. We'll talk more about mudaf ilay hopefully in the next presentation. It's called the governed noun. Mudaf itself is the governing noun, and mudaf ilay is the governed noun. However, right now let's focus our attention on the first of the 2 possibilities, which is harf jar. Harf jar is the particle. At times, the particle appears just to convey a particular meaning which the particle carries. On other occasions, it appears as a preposition of a verb. We know quite well in English as well that there are verbs which are accompanied by prepositions, and there are other verbs which do not need the appearance of a preposition. So what are the particles in Arabic? You know, it's interesting that when traditionally Arabic is learned, because there was an emphasis on memorizing the text. And you know that to memorize, it's far more workable if you have the text in the form of poetry. Prose is difficult to memorize. So what was done was that these particles, huruf jar, huruf is the plural of harf, there are 17 in all. Maybe there are more, but 17 are normally better known. They were given the form of a poetic couplet, and in Persian. And the way it's pronounced, well, a person with as poor a memory as I'm also able to recall it. And it's like this: Bao, Tao, Kafo, Lamu, Wao, Munzo, Muzkhala, Rubba, Hasha, Min Ada, Fi An Ala, Hatta Ila. The beauty of poetry is that I'm absolutely dead sure, despite my poor memory, that I've actually counted them 17 correctly. But amongst these 17 huruf jar, there are lesser than 17 that are directly relevant for us, which are more frequently used in the Quran. And let's take them one by one. Let me remove it. And let's take the first one, bow, which is ba, bay, which means with. For example, we have in the Quran, allazi, the one who, allama, taught, bil qalam, he taught with the pen. Now, because of ba, al-qalam, the noun that is preceding it, has taken the Arabic form of jar. It's now in its genitive case. That is ba, which really means with. The next is ta, which is by. It's a word swearing. While in the Quran you have, probably in Surah Swad, Tallahi, by God. So that is ta. Again, Allah has taken a genitive case, jar form, because of ta. Likewise, we have lam. It really means for. It's for him. Might say belongs. Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. For Allah is whatever is in the heavens or the earth, or to Allah belongs. So lam before Allah has caused Allah, the noun, to be in genitive form, in the Arabic form of jar. The interesting thing about this is that whereas without lam, the word Allah looks longer, bigger because of an additional alif. But when lam is added to begin with, it gets shortened. Well, that's the way the language has caused it to happen. And we cannot normally have very many explanations to some of the things that take place. We move on. After lam, we have kaf. Kaf means like. Alam tara kaifa dharaballahu mathalan kalimatan tayyibatan ka shajaratin. Do you not see how God gives the example of a good word, good expression? It is like kashajaratin, like a tree which is pure. Which is pure. Tayyibatin. So, shajar or shajara has taken a genitive form, has taken jar because of kaf preceding it, and ka means like a tree which is pure. Then we have vow, which again, like ta, means by, that is used for the purpose of oath, swearing. Wal asr, by the time. By the time in Arab, in the Quran, the Almighty takes oath or swears upon time or many other things, because these objects are mentioned as evidence for the claim that is made later. But that's, of course, a completely separate issue. It has to do with the question of tafsir. But right now, the important thing is that wal asr, vow has caused al asr to have jar, the genitive case. By the way, vow is also used in Arabic in the Quran more often for and when it is used for and, then obviously it may not necessarily be followed by jar, because and is just joining. It's a conjunction, and it's not this particular letter. It's not this particular particle, because you have in languages completely identical words meaning different things, and obviously you have to look at the context to decide as to whether they are used for one purpose, meaning, or another. We move on from vow to min. Min. وَمَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ مِن وَلِيٍّ. Min is from. So, min has caused waliyin to have jar. Take another example, famous example, the very last words of the Quran. Minal jinnati wan nas. The good thing about this example is that we have vow here, not in the sense of oath, swearing, but in the sense of and. The Satans who yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, who whisper into the hearts of men, are minal jinnati wan nas, from amongst jinns and men. So al jinnah has a jar because of min. Another good thing is that this example gives, as distinct from the earlier one, is that sometimes for the need of continuing the flow of the statement, the way it is read without interruption, the noon takes a fatha, and the normal jazm disappears. So al jinnah takes jar because of min, and this time it's not min, it's minal jinnah. And one nas is actually and an-nas has taken jar, not because of vow. This vow is a different vow. It's because of the same minal jinnah. Vow is adding it up to al jinnah, and therefore whatever is relevant to al jinnah is also relevant, applicable to an-nas. So that is min. From min, we move on to the next one, which is fi. Fi. Fi means in. Lahuma, lahu for him is whatever is fis samawat, in the heavens and the earth. Let's put it there. Wal earth, samawati wal ard. Again vav, but the vav conjunction and. So fi, in, as-samawat, in the heavens and in the earth, is giving jar. So there are a number of reasons why this jar would appear. Let me try to squeeze in the ones that are left. One of them is now, I'm always poor at planning the board and the space. An. An is from. Although I'm sure there are examples of an from the Quran, the more frequently used reason for an is to be found in hadith. So, whenever you mention the chain of narrators, for example, you would find the famous narrator, companion of the Prophet, may Allah's mercy be on him, An Abi Huraira, which really means this particular hadith is being narrated from An Abu Huraira. This is the name of one of the companions, and Abi is actually the jar form of Abu. The same word when it is expressed in the form of Rafa. Nominative case is Abu. When it is in the form of Nasab, the accusative case, it's Aba. And when it is in the form of Jar, the genitive case, it's Abi. So here it's Jar, and this Jar has been required because of An, which again is Harf Jar. After An, we have Ala. Ala. Ala means upon or on. The Quran says, Wama ala Rasul illa al-balagh. So there is no responsibility on the messenger. So Ala comes before ar-Rasul, and what it has done is that it has caused ar-Rasul to take the genitive form, the genitive case, which is Jar Arab. And then we have Hatta. Hatta, if you allow me here, is until. Until. Hatta matla'il fajr. Until the rise of dawn. So matla is the rise. So matla, immediately preceded by hatta, has again appeared in the Jar Arab form. This is the genitive case. And last but not the least is ila. Ila means until. The Quran says, Thumma atimmus siyam, then you complete the fast ila al-layl, until the night. So the noun al-layl is again in the genitive form. It's in the jar Arabi form. You would find that these particles, they appear in the Quran very often. And what they do in changing the appearance of a noun is that they always cause the noun to get down to a genitive case. I say get down because, genitive case or jar form is considered to be the lowest of the three forms. I mentioned earlier that these particles sometimes are used for the purpose of conveying their meanings, what we've already studied, and sometimes some of these particles are actually used alongside the verbs, and they are in actual fact the prepositions of those verbs. So, for example, Daraba Zaidun Khalidan that we studied, Daraba doesn't need any preposition, but we shall see later that if you say Zahaba Zaidun, Zaid went to the masjid, Zahaba needs ila. The same ila which we have done over here is the one which also appears with Zahaba as a preposition. And there are many other examples. May the Almighty enable us to understand His book's language properly so that we are able to read and understand it properly.